Title: The First Battle of Panipat, 1526. The day destiny chose its king. The sky over northern India was still dark when the soldiers began to wake. A cold wind swept across the plains near Panipat, carrying with it a strange silence, the kind that comes before a storm. It was April 21, 1526, a date that would soon be carved into history with blood and fire. Thousands of men stood on the edge of life and death, unaware that by sunset an empire would fall and another would rise. At the center of this unfolding destiny stood Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, a warrior, a dreamer, and a man who had known more defeat than victory. Yet today he stood unshaken. Facing him was the mighty Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, commanding one of the largest armies ever assembled in India. The odds were clear, the outcome seemed certain, but history was about to be rewritten. Babur's story did not begin in India. It began far to the north, in the rugged lands of Central Asia. A descendant of Timur on his father's side and Genghis Khan on his mother's side, Babur was born into greatness, but not into security. From a young age, he fought for survival. He captured Samarkand, lost it, regained it, and lost it again. His life was a constant struggle against betrayal, shifting alliances, and overwhelming odds. Each defeat hardened him. Each loss sharpened his mind. And eventually, it led him to India. The Delhi Sultanate under Ibrahim Lodi was powerful but deeply unstable. Internal conflicts, disloyal nobles, and poor leadership had weakened its foundation. Babur saw opportunity where others saw danger. He launched multiple incursions into India, testing the land, understanding its politics, and preparing for something much bigger. This was not just another raid. This was a calculated invasion. By the time Babur marched toward Panipat, he knew exactly what he was up against. Ibrahim Lodi's army was enormous, estimated at over 100,000 soldiers, supported by nearly 1,000 war elephants. These elephants were not just animals, they were living tanks, trained to charge, crush, and terrorize enemy forces. In comparison, Babur's army was tiny, around 12,000 men. But numbers can deceive. Babur had something Ibrahim Lodi did not: experience in modern warfare. He had fought in Central Asia, where battles were not just about strength, but about strategy, mobility, and innovation. Most importantly, Babur had adopted the use of gunpowder weapons, cannons, muskets, firepower that could change everything. In the days leading up to the battle, Babur did something extraordinary. Instead of meeting Lodi's army in open combat, he prepared the battlefield itself as a weapon. He ordered his men to set up a defensive formation using carts tied together with rawhide ropes. Behind these carts, he positioned his artillery and musketeers. This wasn't just defense, this was a trap. He also planned his most brilliant move, the Tulughma tactic. His army would not fight as a single block. Instead, it would be divided into smaller, flexible units. While the center held the line, fast-moving cavalry units would sweep around the enemy's flanks, attacking from the sides and rear. Babur was not preparing to match Lodi's strength. He was preparing to break it. On the morning of April 21, the battle began. Ibrahim Lodi's army advanced like a massive wave. Drums thundered, war cries echoed. The ground shook beneath the feet of elephants as they charged forward, their massive forms leading the assault. From a distance, it looked unstoppable, a force of nature. But as they moved closer, something changed. A sudden explosion shattered the air, then another and another. Babur's cannons had opened fire. The sound was unlike anything the Indian battlefield had ever experienced. It was not the clash of swords or the twang of bows. It was thunder, fire, and destruction. Smoke filled the air, the ground trembled. The elephants, unaccustomed to such noise, panicked. Instead of charging forward, many turned around, straight into their own ranks. What followed was chaos. Soldiers were crushed underfoot, formations broke apart, commands were drowned out by screams and explosions. The very strength of Lodi's army, its size and its elephants, became its greatest weakness. And Babur was ready. At the perfect moment, he gave the signal. His cavalry moved. From both flanks, Babur's mounted archers surged forward, circling around the disorganized enemy. Arrows rained down from every direction. Lodi's army, already in confusion, now found itself surrounded. There was no escape, no order, only panic. At the center of it all stood Ibrahim Lodi. He was not a coward. Despite the disaster unfolding around him, he chose to fight. Surrounded by his personal guard, he resisted with determination, refusing to abandon the battlefield. But even kings cannot fight fate. By midday, Ibrahim Lodi was dead. His body lay among thousands of fallen soldiers, marking the end of not just a battle, but an era. The First Battle of Panipat was over. In a single day, Babur had achieved what once seemed impossible. With a smaller army, he had defeated a vastly superior force. The Delhi Sultanate collapsed, and in its place rose the foundation of the Mughal Empire. But the impact of this victory went far beyond the battlefield. Babur had introduced a new way of warfare to India, one that combined mobility, strategy, and gunpowder. His success proved that discipline and innovation could overcome even the greatest numerical disadvantage. This was the beginning of a new age. In the years that followed, Babur would consolidate his power, securing his rule over northern India. But his legacy would be carried forward by those who came after him, rulers like Akbar, who would expand the empire, unite diverse cultures, and create one of the most powerful states in Indian history. The seeds of that empire were planted on the field of Panipat, watered with blood, forged in fire. Yet the story of Panipat is not just about victory. It is about courage in the face of impossible odds. It is about intelligence over brute force. It is about a man who refused to accept defeat, even when the world told him he should. As the sun set over the battlefield that day, the silence returned. But it was not the same silence as before. It was heavier, filled with the echoes of what had just happened. Thousands lay dead. An empire had fallen, and a new one had begun. Babur stood victorious, but he knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be filled with challenges, rebellions, and battles yet to come. But on that day, April 21, 1526, he had done the impossible. He had conquered destiny, and in doing so, he changed the course of history forever.